Welcome back, everybody. When you think of a zoo, what do you think of? What are you excited about at a zoo? What do you hate at a zoo? Today, we're going to be going to a couple different ones and comparing and contrasting. We're going to the recently ranked #1 zoo in North America, and then we're going to the Riverbanks Zoo in South Carolina, which is the closest one to where me and my family live. And we're just going to be showing some of the similarities, some of the differences, talking about why some of those things are, what's better, what's worse, and does that even matter? Stick around. The entryway for the zoo takes you out over this lagoon, kind of a lake thing. And you're able to look down and see these giant snapping turtles even before you get into the zoo. And these are all wild, so it's just a little extra bonus. Here's a map. Pro tip, you would probably want to start at the North America end because it's easier to walk down that hill. But this kind of shows you that it's a linear zoo and not like a circle like a lot of zoos are. You will walk a lot at this zoo. It is the largest natural enclosure zoo in the world. It is built into the wild, as you can see by the sign there. I love zoos, in case you couldn't tell. I love good zoos, not all zoos. I know a lot of people have issues with zoos and things, but a lot of zoos these days take animals from accidents, such as this red wolf here, or they're taking them from pets or from other animal parks who couldn't have them. There's not as big of a deal with the poaching and things that used to go on in the past. I agree, I would much prefer to see it in the wild, but things have changed a lot. High five. Yeah. The zoo does a great job of hiding little things throughout the park for you to find, explaining all the wildlife, all the conservation things that they're going through, all the projects that are going on. The enclosures, as you can see, are rather large. I've been to zoos in the States, other countries, and I've had some good experiences and some bad experiences, but it's really nice to be able to look out and see that these guys are given a lot of room to walk around. And of course, there's also perfect product placement right outside the chimpanzees. I won't be showing you every animal in the zoo, obviously. This is not a full walkthrough. This is just kind of a comparison between this zoo, the #1 zoo in America, and our local zoo here in South Carolina. It's a good looking sign. All right, we just finished a up close and personal experience behind the scenes with the cougars, and we got to see a few other things as well. And I just want to see what Ray thought about it. We didn't get to film it. They don't even let the people who work here film behind the scenes, so you didn't get to see that. But Ray was super close, and one looked like it wanted to either eat her or snuggle with her. I'm not sure which it was. What did you think?
I think that's cool.
Thought it was cool? Did you like hearing them purr? That was really neat. You got to get super close. They fed them, and they were just rubbing against the things and playing with boxes just like regular cats do. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, I was really hoping to get to film it, but I got to hang out with the zookeepers and talk with them for a while. Even afterwards, they were super nice.
Yes.
And yeah, Willow did not want to go see it. That's why she's not being interviewed. She saw them and instantly said no and left and sat at the picnic table with one of the employees. Like most zoos, this one does a great job
of educating kids and the public with hands-on experiences, letting you get right up close, experience the life cycles of certain animals, letting you see how they go about their daily lives, how they survive different predator interactions, how they work together. It lets you put yourself in their position. It lets you get down on their level. It does a great job of making kids feel like they're really part of nature.
Just finished our day at the #1 zoo in America. If you don't know by now, it is the Asheboro Zoo in North Carolina. It's my home zoo I grew up going to every year. I've told people for decades it is my favorite zoo, and people always thought I was crazy. And it's not because you can see the most animals in the shortest amount of time, or they're the easiest to find, or there's Ferris wheels and things like some zoos are basically amusement parks, but it's because the focus is on the wildlife and making things easy for them and not stressful. You don't want lions in an enclosure right next door to zebras. The zebras are never going to feel at ease because they're going to smell lions all day. You know what I mean? There are 2,800 acres here at the Asheboro Zoo. Not all of it is zoo yet. They have an expansion planned that should be done by 2026 for an Asia exhibit continent, a new third branch to the zoo. And I feel so validated, having argued for a decade or decades that this is my favorite zoo, and people saying they've never even heard of that zoo and what's so good about it. You do walk a lot. You didn't even see half of the stuff they have today because we did the behind the scenes experience and we missed a whole side where you go do the African plains and a lot of other things. Aviary is shut down for structural reasons because it's a 50-year-old zoo, but they have plans to reopen that in the future, shifting some animals around. And you don't have to see everything to have seen enough. We had a great time, and just plan for 2 days if you're wanting to come. It's definitely worth it. Y'all be looking.
I just wanted to take a second to point out something that I've noticed over the years, and that is, even in a zoo, amongst all these incredible animals from all over the world, people are still attracted to what is wild. You can be standing right next to a lion, which we kind of are in this clip here, but the kids are so focused on this squirrel because the lions are captive and the squirrel is wild. And somehow, subconsciously, it just means more. One of the big differences that you'll notice between the Asheboro Zoo and the Riverbanks Zoo is the amount of, we'll call it extra stuff for kids. And I think this is great. You've got these large tree houses, kids can run around, you've got the petting zoos, you've got a farm type setting, you've got trains you can ride. All these things that are not wildlife focused and aren't even like taking you to see animals. You've got the carousel, which my kids love way more than I wish they did. We've got the climbing wall, which my oldest daughter Ray is the first thing she hops on as soon as we get there. They have a splash pad up at not the main entrance. And these things are kind of separate from the rest of the zoo, so a lot of this you can do and not even know you're in a zoo. It's almost its own separate park. And I'm sure a lot of families with little kids, they just come, they have a field day, they play, they splash, they go dig in the sand, maybe they let them run around the treehouse for a few minutes and they just call it a day. And that's fine. It's an extra thing that brings in money for the zoo, but I just look at it as wasted space. Instead of having all the animals crammed on one side of the river, they could have expanded out to this side and made the enclosures that much bigger.
just got through with the Riverbanks Zoo in Columbia, South Carolina. If you've never been, I recommend it. It's fun. I will say, while I was here, multiple times I heard families saying, hurry up, I need to see this. Hurry up, I want to see that. This is a smaller zoo, and you can definitely get to everything in a shorter amount of time. I've been here about an hour and a half, and I've seen about 90% of the stuff that's here. Say hey to everybody tubing on the Saluda. We're actually about to go kayak this same river. That's why I'm here early and moving. I was not running through the zoo. I didn't have kids, so that didn't slow me down. But you would think a zoo that's smaller and you could see quicker, you're not rushing to get through that. This is in the middle of a big city. And I think that kind of bleeds into the mindset whenever you're coming to look here. You're like, all right, we got to go. Lunch, restaurants outside, we're close. We got to go. The interstate is right on the other side of the parking lot. Whereas the Asheboro Zoo, you're kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and you need to plan to spend all day there and still maybe not see everything. So just an interesting mindset that you kind of need to get into before you go. Well, I just finished up at Riverbanks Zoo, and I've been here several times before. I've been several times to the other zoo. So I kind of knew what my opinions were going to be before I came, but I wanted to get video to kind of show y'all, if you're wanting to go, got little kids, and you just want to see as many things as quick as possible, Riverbanks is definitely the zoo to go to. If you don't mind spending the day, being more in nature, this woodland trail is kind of a nice trail that they've added that you can go down to the river and see things. Kind of feel like you're not in the middle of the zoo, because I will say, either zoo, you just feel like you're around too many people, or at least I feel like I'm around too many people because they're popular. But probably you could tell from the name of the channel which zoo I prefer. I prefer to not just be walking and feel like I'm on a conveyor belt and be like, there's an animal, there's an animal, there's an animal, there's an animal. I much prefer to walk up to an enclosure, take my time, try to find it. Sometimes it's just laying there, but sometimes it's hiding. Sometimes, they're wild animals. They want to hide. They want to feel comfortable. And I feel like that's easier for them to do at the Asheboro Zoo. I feel like that zoo is much more focused on conservation. I got a little bit of blessing out when I first got here, because I told one of the girls at the front gate what I was planning to do, make a video contrasting, and she's like, oh, well, I've heard, a lot of negative things about the Asheboro Zoo as far as how big it is and how big the enclosures are and how hard the animals are to see. And I'm like, nothing you just said is a negative to me. I hear that as a challenge, and I hear that as nothing but a benefit for the wildlife. So I like them both. If I was coming with just my kids and we had a few hours, Riverbanks, 100%. If it was going with me and my wife and we had the whole day, I'm going to Asheboro every time. The Asheboro Zoo, like I've said earlier, they're expanding out, getting an Asia exhibit. So the zoo is going to be probably 50% bigger than it has been. And then the Riverbanks Zoo is also expanding. They have a riverfront complex thing that they're building. I'm not 100% sure what all that's going to be yet. But, they're both doing things. They're both encouraging people to love and see and experience wildlife and conservation. So I don't think there's a wrong answer. But it just kind of depends on where you are in life or what you prefer. So, number one to whatever Riverbanks is ranked, I don't know. But I definitely think Asheboro's number one.